What's going on, Consciouztv, your favorite commentator? Welcome to another riveting episode of the Consciouztv platform. Happy hump day. You guys already know what we're here to get into. Before we do so, please go ahead and run the likes all the way up. You guys know that thumbing up the video not only helps with YouTube's algorithm, but more importantly, it triggers up YouTube's notification system. So when you are thumbing up the video, you are literally knocking on the digital door of another Conscious crew member and telling them to get their black asses into the sanctuary. All right, so whether you part of the replay gang, active for me in real time, or oh, nasty piece of bush, baby, please swing and bang and bully the hell out of that like feature. We need to unthaw the algorithm. Also, make sure that you guys have your notification bell set to all. Also, if you enjoy everything that Kane does here, you can always donate to the platform at $Consciouztv on Cash App and or PayPal.me/Consciouztv. Of course, is Conscious spelled with the Z on the end, just like it is here on the channel. All donation information and social media handles are in the description box below. Last but not least, please share the stream out to wherever it is you have digital community, whether that be your YouTube community, while your Snapchat, your MySpace, dark side of Twitter, Tumblr, or your personal OF. I don't really give a damn where you in fact let the link to set them whores know that we're loud, we're live, and we're certainly in color. With no further ado, let's go ahead and push on through. Oh,
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your asshole.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Ooh, girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
all right, happy hump day, Conscious crew. Please run the likes all the way up. We need all of that. Don't be no weirdos. Don't be no haters over here, okay? We ain't got no haters on the line, okay? What's going on, my Shauna? What's going on, Destiny? Hey, Chloe. Hey, Crystal. What's going on, Todd? Man, it's been a crazy week. In fact, what's going on, Brandon? Hey, Miss Jigga. What's going on, Rafi? Text me. What's going on, Ian Gardner? Hey, Lakita. What's going on, Shed Pearl? Hey, Poocha. What's going on, Nina? Hey, Lady D. Hey, y'all. It's been a lot going on. You guys know we got heartbreaking news in the Carmelo Anthony criminal case. 17, now 18-year-old boy found guilty of murder. Tragic, unfortunate. It was a clear self-defense, stand your ground case. But of course, when you don't have the complexion for the protection, there can be no protection. There can be no truth. There can be no justice. We are going to have a conversation. I am going to drop the link and we discuss this as a community. I wanted to kind of process the situation first. I didn't want to get on here swinging and banging, baby, and calling for Black people to turn the country into the Middle East. Because, baby, that's kind of where I am. I am in my Magneto girl bag. I am in my Malcolm X bag, honey. That's where I'm leaning these days. Girl, let's burn it down, bitch. Okay? So, been trying to let the blood pressure rest and level out. So, we'll more than likely have a discussion probably either Friday about the situation. Also, you guys know that like my allergies been kicking my ass. So if you hear me sniffling, coughing, I literally hate this type of year. Like I can't even. I'm a witchy person. I'm a spell caster. I'm a curse caller. I'm a spiritualist. So you know, being one out in nature and walking around barefoot like I'm some African ass woman is what I do. It centers me. It grounds me, and I can't even enjoy Mother Nature because my allergies are just ripping me apart. So I have to be very nested in. And even with that, I'm still got allergies out of the woo-ha. So yeah, if you hear the sniffling and all of that, girl, that's, yeah, the allergies are allergying, all right? Also, I'm not going to be here super long because me and Reckless have to binge watch Love Island USA Season 8. We will be live and in color tomorrow at 8 p.m. to get into the first 5 episodes of Love Island. You guys know that we'll be reviewing the show per week, and we will be reviewing basically the week prior, etc. So we'll be reviewing last week as this week happens, and then reviewing this week next week. Okay. If you didn't see our pre-review of the trailer to Love Island, getting into casting, getting into some of the controversy upon the contestants coming into the house, then make sure that you guys check that out. We also have a group chat on IG for those of you who want a Love Island family to indulge and talk with, etc. Because maybe you don't have anybody you can really hoot and holler and gag and roast and get into just all the things with. You can join the IG Love Island group chat. The link to that group chat is in the pre-review live stream that me and Reckless did last week. So check all that out. All right, so we got to get into some continuity, girl. It's a lot going on as the Morgan files continue, child. You guys know that we have been following closely the criminal circumstances surrounding trans activist Dominique Morgan, who you guys know was indicted for grand larceny and accused of stealing under $100,000 of nonprofit money from an organization by the name of the Okra Project. Shout out to the Okra Project and Miss E.D. Gworllll herself, who sat down and gave us an exclusive right here on the Consciouztv platform a few days ago. If you guys haven't checked that out, please check that out. We had a full conversation. It was really amazing. Okay. And Dominique ultimately pled guilty. She served 27 days in Rikers Island in New York, as well as 5 years worth of probation, and has been court ordered to pay restitution back to the Okra Project. All right. Since she has been released, she has been on a world tour, dragging the hell out of the Okra Project, which pretty much is an organization in place to help lend support and aid of various kinds, from housing to food, etc., and various resources to disenfranchised communities, Black and brown communities, particularly Black and brown and queer communities. And she's had a lot to say about the Okra Project now that she's been released, and she has brought more speculation and criticism to the organization, pretty much reverse unoing the narrative and calling the organization corrupted, etc., and even calling into question the integrity and the leadership of the women she brought into the organization, such as Alana Banks and Gworllll, who she has had deplorable things to say, despite Alana just completely staying out of the group chat. Alana is in her Kelly Rowland bag. I'm not going to hate on you on the radio. I'm not going to disrespect you on the internet. Okay. And Gworllll has kept it extremely classy. She has refrained from ad hominem attacks. She has stuck to just defending her reputation as well as the reputation of the organization. And she recently did a 40-minute detailed, chronicled, pre-recorded video on the Okra Project's YouTube and TikTok channel. It's loaded with emails, correspondences, payroll, receipts. It's very comprehensive, very easy to follow, girl, and it gives you a clearer picture into why Mrs. Morgan pled motherfucking guilty. Okay, so make sure that you guys check that out. Well, there's also been a series of interviews. One was done on FQ Crazy Sexy Cool platform. Host Tabitha, and I forgot the other young lady's name. Shout out to them. Tabitha actually joined our live stream about a week or two ago when Dominique Morgan caused some drama with Jaya, who is T.S. Madison's personal assistant and hairstylist. And Tabitha joined the platform to encourage the ladies to basically communicate and to resolve their issues. Jaya kind of seems to be good on that. A lot of people seem to be good on Dominique at this point because she seems to be a mess. And then there was an interview that Dominique had done last year, right before she went in to do her time on T.S. Madison's The Outlaws podcast. Now, That particular interview was more structured as it relates to Dominique's commentary. It was more easy to follow, but ultimately it was the same smear campaign and her deflecting and throwing the Okra Project and Gabrielle and Alana under the bus, etc. Despite it being more practical and easy to follow. Well, last night or last afternoon, I was minding my business and y'all too, girl, and one of the Conscious crew members had pushed on over here and said, "Gworllll, why did T.S. Madison delete the interview with Dominique Morgan?" And sure as I am a beautiful bitch, I went over there to clarify and verify, because that's what I do, girl. This ain't the Reading Rainbow, and I'm not LeVar Burton. We ain't got to take nobody's word for it. So I went over there. Asia and Tabitha, thank you so much for that, Brandon. Shout out to Asia and Tabitha. So I went over there to the Outlaws podcast and saw that the interview was in fact gone, girl. It's gone, girl. It's just been poof, girl. She'd have been raptured, girl. Her name was not found in the Book of Life, girl. The interview is zapped. So this is purely speculative. I don't know exactly why the interview was deleted, but I'm going to speculate, because it's interesting that someone the other day said in my live chat that the charges that Mrs. Morgan pled guilty to are state charges. This was not a federal case. This was a state case. But this easily could become a case that the feds could pick up. She could be charged on a federal level. I'm thinking that possibly the interview, because the Outlaws podcast is owned by iHeart, the same company that runs the Breakfast Club, etc. I'm assuming, girl, that given the two interviews that Alana did, she did, not Alana, that Gabrielle did on the Okra YouTube and TikTok page, and plus the one she did over here, girl, that iHeart said, girl, this is a lot more demonstrative than what we were aware of. And now that we have more receipts and more facts to substantiate the allegations that ultimately Mrs. Morgan pled guilty to, girl, let's go ahead and just stay out of the group chat of all of this, because, girl, we don't want to be vacuumed into no criminal investigation concerning Miss Morgan, because this thing might not be far from over. The Okra Project may or may not pursue civil charges, etc. Who knows if, the feds will pick up their own case and finish what the state started. So, who knows? But I'm sure they took it down probably because they want to avoid any type of legal liability. And the fact that that video went down after the Okra Project's, run through, girl, and run down. Okay, the receipt filled rundown. Okay, you didn't have to go behind a paywall. You ain't have to go subscribe to Substack. You didn't have to join the members only. You didn't have to join a Patreon, girl. Okay, the Okra Project wanted the social media vindication, and they presented the receipts accordingly, baby. They're not doing topsy-turvy ass dissertations and docu-series and spreading the Infinity Stones amongst the motherfucking multiverse, girl, and then burdening the public on searching the stones out, okay, for a comprehensive understanding, like Miss Morgan is, girl. Okay, so I'm just assuming that they probably just want to avoid anything that might be coming in the future, anything that might be coming down the motherfucking Lizzie, okay? And once again, the Outlaws podcast is not ran by T.S. Madison. She's the host. It's owned by iHeart, so they're the ones who make all of the decisions, etc. Okay? So that I would suspect was an iHeart choice to just remove the interview, which I think is also fair, because as Gabrielle said to us, and shout out to my co-host and my good friend Bubs the God, who held that amazing conversation and interview with me the other night with the Gworllll. She said that nobody has reached out to her out of, these organizations and the activists, etc., the people who've been platforming Dominique, that nobody has asked for the Okra Project side. Nobody has asked them for a sit down. Nobody has asked them what they have to say. And I feel like that would really be fair in this situation, considering that Dominique already has a lot of social equity of her own. She has her own following already. She has a platform that independently can leverage her own voice. The Okra Project was the one that was at a deficit. They were the ones who didn't necessarily have that social media equity, comparatively speaking. So it would have been fair at least to have spoken to both sides, considering that one side has a bigger microphone than the other side does. And I was also rather surprised that nobody has reached out to the Okra Project. Nobody has reached out to Gworllll them for a interview, because why would you not want to hear from the Okra Project, especially when they have receipts readily, easily available, considering that Dominique Morgan, despite all that she may have to say about the Okra Project, all that she may have to say about Miss Alana and Miss Gworllll, she was the only one indicted. She was the only one sentenced. She was the only one who pled guilty. She was the only one investigated. She was the only one who has to pay court-ordered restitution. She's the only one who has to be on 5 years worth of probation. She's the only one who has been terminated from multiple organizations, who have had internal complaints brought against her from staff members in multiple organizations. And since the Okra nonprofit was audited along with Gworllll, they had to turn over their own personal bank accounts, their own, the Okra Project had to turn over all of their documentations, all of their finances, etc., girl. And clearly they were cleared. So all this conversation about what people think, what people thought, what people feel is literally just simply conjecture. At the end of the day, the receipts were filtered through the Xerox girl, and it was only blood that was found on the douched panties of Mrs. Morgan. Who was so lost without a coin, girl, that she allegedly took almost $100,000 so that she can be found. And then almost lost her goddamn livelihood as a result of being lost without proper legal representation. We're also getting to that too. Okay? So I don't know for a fact why iHeart took the podcast down or took the interview down, but I'm just going to assume it's because they probably don't want to get caught up in no shit, baby, especially now that the receipts have dropped. Okay? Also, I think it needs to be noted that there's been an attack on those who have been trying to speak up and speak out against Mrs. Morgan. We read from the Black and Pink National, which is the organization that Miss Morgan was working for prior to the Okra Project, and then was working with simultaneous to her employment with the Okra Project, making two separate $250,000 salaries. That's $500,000 alone a year just from her salary from the Okra and Black and Pink National. That ain't even counting the money she makes from social media and then all of the gigs that she does outside of her salary and outside of her social media platforms. But we read from internal complaints against Miss Morgan and allegations that she abused her power, she would be allegedly petty enough to suppress the pay and the economics of other staff members within the organization that she was over as executive director, all because of her personal feelings and beefs with people within the organization, even when the state required them to bring the minimum wage up from $16 an hour to $20. Miss ED herself, Miss Morgan, is accused of still not increasing the state mandated pay and wage requirement. She was accused of leveraging and favoring her white constituents, giving them almost a $10,000 increase in salary, while damn near allegedly keeping her black constituents below the poverty line. I mean, girl, it's real bad. It's real bad. And then come to find out from the receipts that the Okra Project presented, the narrative that Alana and Gabrielle went to the feds to pursue a grand larceny charge against Mrs. Morgan was not true, given that they presented receipts showing that there was already an ongoing investigation from the Gworllll organization that Mrs. Morgan apparently was employed at, and there were issues there that led to an investigation that then the Okra Project was vacuumed into and subpoenaed into against their will. That's 3 different organizations with internal issues who have allegations against Miss Morgan: the Gworllll, Black and Pink National, and the Okra Project. My God, today. Lost without a coin and lost without common goddamn sense. Now, there's been an attack on the people, even the young lady whose internal complaint that we read about Miss Morgan and her partner in crime, Andrew, who apparently was running amok at Black and Pink. She opened up her internal complaint with fear, saying that she was apprehensive for a long time about coming forward because of the retaliatory practices and behavior of Mrs. Morgan at Black and Pink. And the interesting thing about that is that Mrs. Morgan has used her First Amendment to allegedly slander, defame, and attempt to destroy the reputations of a nonprofit meant to help the people that she claims to be an advocate and a philanthropist for, and other trans women like Alana and Gabrielle. And as soon as that Okra Project live stream went up, or pre-recorded video went up, the opposition tried to suppress the Okra's 40-minute receipt-filled video and falsely reported for harassment and bullying. Luckily, the Okra Project was able to appeal that decision and get their video reinstated, which you can find right now on TikTok and YouTube at the Okra Project. What's going on, YB? Hey, boo. So it's mighty. So this just adds to the plot thickening, because how are you fully using your First Amendment, but then when the truth gets told, and it gets told in a very corporate way, baby, because you know everybody is saying, girl, Miss Gabrielle is giving very much so, girl, a corporate ovaries, girl, professional ovaries, baby. Y'all know I don't use the term fish. Girl, giving very much so corporate ovaries, honey. Straight to the point, receipt-filled, classy-based, grown woman shit. All day, every day. No fluff. No filibustering. No none of that. So, why is it that the Okra Project can't speak to the salacious allegations against them, but Miss Morgan can be all over the social medias, girl? Stumping and treading and running down on people's names and reputations. And the minute that they come with a narrative they can back up with receipts, all of a sudden, girl, It's bullying and it's harassment. Very, 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 very interesting. But you know what? That same night, because we went and, you know, we gave coverage to the Okra's 40-minute rundown. Them motherfucking bombastic whores tried to strike my video too, but the force was with me, girl. It didn't work. The force was upon thee and with thee, girl. Okay, all hail to the righteous who shall inherit the earth. So it was the vindication for me, but the efforts to silence the truth, to silence the receipts were telling and is very loud. Very, 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 very loud. While Ms. Morgan is over there complaining about how her Substack receipts are not doing the numbers that they should be doing. And why should they? Because as I've said before, and I'm going to reiterate it today, you had put less effort into defending yourself in the court of law than you are putting into the court of public opinion. And if your receipts wasn't good enough for the court of law, why the fuck should they be good enough for us? You didn't use none of those Substack files to vindicate yourself in the court of law and to preserve the integrity of your reputation. So what the fuck should we show interest in it for? And then the audacity to put it behind a paywall while you out here pleading guilty to Joanne the scammer ring the community out of its coins, girl. Scamming the girls out of their contact lenses. Scamming the girls out of their bust downs and baby hairs, girl. And you're not reading the room and are going to charge for your vindication. No, girl, we're not going to go pay for your Substack receipts so that you can use our money to pay back the restitution that you owe to the fucking community, girl. Are you stupid or not? And then the unmitigated audacity to be accused and plead guilty to grand larceny, but also be accused of providing falsified documentation regarding this fake Bell Assistant program that never was. But then to think that we should take your receipts at face value, that makes no sense, girl, because if you were scamming the hell girl out of the nonprofit, scamming the hell girl out of the state, why the fuck should we think that you're not gonna scam us, girl? You didn't feel like you owed the state the fucking truth, so what the hell we should believe about you owing us the damn truth? I don't know, girl, what the nature of those damn receipts you got over there behind a paywall are, girl. I don't know whether that's some shit you done conjured up, girl, from the bowels of hell, girl, from the scorched floors of Chat GPT and AI, girl. I don't know whether it's given meta AI, girl, whether it's given AI hallucinations, bitch. No, ma'am. Because if you're scamming the state, bitch, you're damn sure going to scam us. It's clear you already think that the public is busy as hell, and to some degree they are. She can't even keep one clean narrative of what happened per interview. She's contradicting and flip-flopping, the pendulum is swinging from left to motherfucking right. But you got all these receipts that you done sent independently to Hope Giselle and then sent to the host of FQ Crazy Sexy Cool, but you didn't want to lead any of these interviews with those said receipts. You want to stuff them behind a paywall where they can't be properly vetted, where the intellectuals and truth seekers and truth finders of the planet, girl, can't put a magnifying glass and can't do any comparative analysis, and who are not stupid enough to put more money into your pocket when you're out here practically bragging, pleading guilty, spending thousands of dollars on renovations for a fucking rental and then have the nerve to correct us, girl, that it wasn't $19K. It was $27K to stand corrected. If you ain't got no money, take your broke ass home, is what I thought that Fergie said. I thought that that's what Fergie had said. I thought Fergie said, girl, that y'all girls not supposed to change for the glamorous, the flossy. Fergie said that her daddy had taught her, girl, that if you ain't got no coin, girl, you go get lost until you're found again. Girl, all you had to do was take your broke ass home and leave Borealis and the Okra Project alone. Just leave it alone. Now, there's been a growing conversation around how the community has not been dealing properly with Mrs. Morgan. The fact that she was able to do 27 days probation, court-ordered restitution, and then hit the ground running immediately upon her release from an all-lesbian prison got her a piece and is currently employed and being booked and busy by the very community that she pled guilty to harming is really wild work. And that has been very disappointing to a lot of members of the organization, both queer people and our allies alike. There's been no attempt to hold Ms. Morgan accountable. There's been no attempt to deal with the facts and actualities of the matter. There's been no real outrage. She was celebrated. She was honored. She was pedestalized. She was greeted with warm hearts and warm wallets. I mean, how dizzy and dazzled can the community be at this goddamn point? And so people have been reasonably frustrated, reasonably annoyed, reasonably concerned about what this means then, especially since even so-called activists of the community have failed to hold proper critique of Mrs. Morgan. One of those individuals being Hope Giselle. Shout out to Hope Giselle. Now, let me give a disclaimer before I get into my commentary, because I told myself I don't mind being passionate in my speaking points. Y'all know I'm a Scorpio girl, so I'm going to give it up. But I want to be respectful. I like Hope Giselle. I appreciate the work that she's done. I liked Dominique. I never followed Dominique. But, you know, anybody who's doing any type of humanitarian work, any type of community organizing work, anybody who's, you know, put the work in to become educated, to become skilled, etc. You know, I have a lot of respect for our professionals because there's not enough people doing this type of work. But my personal feelings about how Hope specifically has navigated the Dominique situation has been disappointing. I'm disappointed in Hope. Hope did an initial video following Dominique being brought into custody, basically doing a 1-2-1-2 about how the system is corrupted and we know how they do Black and brown people and we should stay open-minded and give Dominique grace and blah, 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 blah. Okay, essentially taking it easy on her. Okay, fine. Dominique then got out. Hope Giselle, you know, welcomed her home. Welcomed her good sis home. Okay, cool. Now that receipts have dropped from the Okra Project, interviews have been had by Gworllll, etc., who for some reason has ended up as gunk underneath Mrs. Morgan's red bottom. Hope Giselle has provided further commentary. Now, yesterday when she was live, I had some Conscious crew members who sent me her live. I was like, girl, I don't even want to listen because I don't even want to be gaslit. I have seen all that needed to be seen, girl. I have entered the White Crown Phoenix room, girl, and have spoken to the power and the source within the crystal, girl. And have as much clarity as I'm going to have. I really don't care at this point to hear secondary commentary from people who, and I quote, this is not even their fight and not even their battle, which we're going to deal with that too. But, you know, I'm somebody who likes to know that I'm right before I really land in whatever attitude I'm going to have. So I did chime in for a little bit, and I heard enough to know that my suspicions were correct, that Hope was going to tiptoe, she was going to tap dance, she was going to moonwalk, she was going to shuck and jive, she was going to pop pussy on a handstand. Then I circled the block today and looked at her comment section and saw that, oh, people actually could see through the smoke and veil, see through the biasness, see through the fuckery and foolishness and the tight roping, and were calling Hope to task. I did find Hope's commentary to be rather biased. She considers Mrs. Morgan a friend, despite the fact that they were just having issues last year when Mrs. Morgan jumped into a hate train against Mrs. Giselle that was prompted by India Moore from Pose. But I guess they've cleaned all that stuff up, etc. Cool, fine, wonderful. We love that for the girls. But what was interesting to me is that Hope's commentary led from a lot of I think, I feel, I think, and I feel. We can depart from thinking and feeling when we have objective information to support the indictment against Mrs. Morgan, because now this is not a matter of a lack of information and a call to need to be open-minded. There are explicit receipts that support why Mrs. Morgan pled goddamn guilty, because seemingly she goddamn was. And I think that a lot of the people who are attempting to have this conversation, who also happen to have proxy to Mrs. Morgan, are addicted and obsessed with the defamatory narratives around Gabrielle and Alana and the Okra Project, because it gives them a reason and helps them to stay in the middle. Because as long as there's a co-conspirator, the people who already are uncomfortable with holding Dominique accountable get to pivot to the middle. Like, oh, it's not just about Dominique. There's other players. There's other people. There's other. And I think that that's why they need there to be other villains in the situation aside from Mrs. Morgan, who once again was the only person, girl, who was filtered through and found guilty with her hand in the cookie jar. If the narratives were that demonstrative and heavily supported by Mrs. Morgan's receipts against Alana and Gabrielle, with Alana and Gabrielle having to be audited along with the Okra Project, baby, this would have been a RICO situation. And we know how the feds love them some RICO, bitch. Everybody had to give up their personals. Everybody had to give up their financials. Everybody had to do that. And I think that holding on to those defamatory narratives about Gabrielle and Alana helps to justify right in that middle. Because that seems easier than just charging the accountability to the one who openly motherfucking pled guilty to those allegations and ignoring the fact that the investigations cleared Gabrielle, cleared Alana. No matter what the hell Ms. Morgan says, she can have a whole skull and molder foul on either one of them goddamn ladies. The reality and actuality of the situation is that they were cleared. Even if you want to believe they were shady, even if you want to believe that they were willfully obtuse and etc. Apparently, whatever the fuck they being accused of, they ain't been found guilty of no criminal liability. And that's really the only thing that's in question here. Only one person pled guilty and was found criminally liable. And that was Miss Morgan. And that should terrify and raise the Amber Alert on everyone involved. Now, I hope Giselle came back today, clapping back at the public, basically trying to straighten y'all out. Pretty much saying that she said what she said, and she feels that this ain't even her fight. I find that to be so deplorable. How does that make sense to say that this is not your fight? You're literally a activist. You literally have self-appointed yourself to be someone who advocates for the vulnerable, for the disenfranchised, for the marginalized, for the people who don't have voices, for the people who have multiple oppressive intersections. And yet, someone committing explicit economic harm against your own is not your problem. Then what the fuck is? Because y'all have had more to say and have had more goddamn town hall meetings about the MAGA cock that Laverne Cox preferred in her pussy than y'all have had in assessing whether Mrs. Morgan is a gift or a detriment and a danger to the community. Y'all have had more to say about who the hell Lil Bootsy prefers at a fucking topless pool party than y'all have had in assessing and creating town halls to analyze whether Miss Morgan is a gift or a grifter to the community. I mean, make it make sense. And then hope today did what Dominique does. When it's time for y'all wigs to be tucked on and for there to be accountability, what y'all then do is pivot to all the work y'all done. Oh, I don't see nobody else doing that in the third, and I don't see nobody else being boots to the ground, and I don't see nobody else advocating for Medicare and healthcare, and I don't see nobody else, and clearly we don't see y'all doing it either. In the explicit instance of exploitation happening right within our own house, and y'all concerned about who's in the fucking backyard of Lil Bootsy's. When you self-appoint yourself to be the face and the voice and the energy of a community, of a motherfucking movement, you know what y'all really do? Y'all become the HR for the community. The people are going exactly to who has appointed themselves as the authority of check and balances. The people who have appointed themselves to the righteous burden of organizing and unorganizing the foolishness. And instead of taking a defensive posture and making that about you, what you should be doing is understanding, girl, this is the part where heavy is the head that wears the motherfucking crown. And we can't make Dominique Morgan or anybody else bigger than the actual fucking program, because this was never about proxy more than it was about principle. And two things can be done at the same time. We can hold Dominique accountable and also still love her. Just like a parent can discipline their child and still feed them and provide them a seat at the table to be nourished. And then to deflect and manipulate and to gaslight and to make the public's concern around if now this two-time convicted felon who is now a repeat offender after already serving 10 years, having 7 convictions on her record for the same white-collar crimes, who now has found herself in similar white-collar predicaments, is or is not an asset or just an ass unto the community, is something that the public wants to be seen met with a conversation that is of substance, where the people who have positioned themselves as leaders in our community are taking this scenario seriously, because for all we know, there's going to be more Black and brown queer people who are going to be left to be victimized by what appears to be a pattern of behavior by Miss Morgan. If I could possibly see if this was a Robin Hood situation, because girl, to be honest with it, bitch, I'm with bad bitch behavior. If she would have been on her Robin Hood shit, bitch, and you out there stealing from multi-billion-dollar corporations, girl, that historically have enriched themselves off of the backs of the everyday working class people, and we're taking that, and we're taking coin from them, taking resources from them, bitch, and leveraging yourself and your people with, I ain't got nothing to say. As far as I'm concerned, bitch, that's a holy war. I ain't even got no motherfucking issues, bitch, with vigilant anti-work. I don't have no motherfucking issue, girl, with righteous rebellion. Unfortunately, this ain't that. This was someone coming into a space that was created to help people who our society and government don't give a fuck about, and then exploited the lack of infrastructure within that nonprofit, siphoned unrestricted funds within that nonprofit for self-gain and self-enrichment, and actually abandoned people who would have benefited, people just like you and I, Black just like you and I, queer just like you and I, who were relying on that Bell Assistant program to help them to navigate something they don't have the privilege to liberate themselves from. Didn't Miss Morgan herself turn around and do a video following her release from prison, talking about how even as a privileged trans woman, even as a privileged trans woman, she had to navigate post-release from Rikers Girl with the utmost of confusion and the utmost of what the fuck is this? That even as a privileged woman who got social equity, who got the coins, even if some of them coins, girl, are stolen coins, got the coins, still was lost, confused, dazed, and in a dizzy following her release. And then turned around and explicitly left Black and brown queer people, girl, to navigate that very same fucking system without the aid of that $100,000 that not only the feds turned around with their forensic audit, but also there was an internal investigation, as we could see from the beautiful receipts supported and provided by the Okra Project, who also did their own personal forensics and found that none of those 23 individuals that Miss Morgan claimed to have used $99,000 to bail out of jail with never even fucking existed. Those people didn't exist. Those people were never arrested. Those people were never in those counties. All 23 falsified documentations were falsified, girl. There were forgeries. And Miss Hope Giselle is up here talking about what the fuck she believes. Girl, this is not a conspiracy theory. We're not talking about the Greys, the Sasquatch, the Fae. the little people, leprechauns and gnomes. This is not a situation that is filled with more subjectivity than objectivity. And all the people want is accountability around what we can see, what we do know. A secondary conversation about what role Gabrielle and a lot of possibly did not play into this is literally contrary and deflective at best. Now, I found it interesting that Hope Giselle was swinging and banging in her comment section, because some of the things that she was saying, we're going to clock her on, and we love her down boots, but nobody's bigger than the program, including Hope. Nobody is. Dominique, none of them are. This is about principle, not proxy, boo. So let's get into the comment section of it all. And y'all run the likes up, girl, because y'all know between me and YB, girl, we the only people giving it up right now. So shout out to the Kings, girl, because, girl, we are a minority of superheroes, girl, within Gotham, girl. So shout out to my boo, YB Speaks, honey, okay, who is giving it up, girl. From front to back and straight down the motherfucking middle. No cheese needed. This is all, girl, organic beef. Okay? And YB definitely made his motherfucking presence felt in Hope's comment section, girl. So let's get into the things, girl, because the kids were clocking it. They were clocking it down. Okay? So this was the first video that Giselle did yesterday, okay? YB comment is at the top, girl, okay? And he says, the main core value of journalism and reporting on stories is coming at it with an unbiased perspective. The Okra Project has receipts and third-party forensic accounting to prove their claims against Mrs. Morgan. Please listen back to your own commentary without bias and see how you sound. You came at this with you believe, I think, and this is what I think happened, and that's all null and void because facts have been presented. So your feelings on the matter hold no weight. You are obviously biased on this issue because of your personal relationship with the great deception and disgrace of it all. My God, today, you can't go up for the Okra Project and then call into question how they presented their defense because your homegirl in Scammer Christ came at them wrong. And due to her actions of thievery, has placed the Okra Project in some scandalous waters with the public and their donors. Hope just responded almost an hour ago and said, understood. I'm glad she does. Shout out to YB Speaks. Truth, girl. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to my boo, okay? Another user says, it's disgusting that a convicted felon with an associate's obtained in prison was given an opportunity to help people that look like her while making $200,000 a year. Mind you, two $200,000 salaries a year. How does she repay the community? Steal from them and then get another conviction? My God, today. Another user says, geez, this was such a reach and hard to listen to. Tell us I'm going to stand by my sister matter no matter what she did to affect the community. I go so hard for a long as it's not one of my sisters doing the crime. You spent more time trying to shade the FQ Crazy Sexy Cool host, not too much on Legendary Asia, than you did about the facts Gabby presented. To bring up colorism about how Gabby spoke and responded compared to Dom is so irrelevant and off topic. Dom did a live interview as a grown, unprofessional individual, just like Gabby, and how they both conducted themselves was how they choose to conduct themselves. It had nothing to do with colorism. Dom chose to act a plumb fool on here. Politician, which is why she should have waited to do the interview. What about the receipts that Gabby presented about the falsified documents that Dom created? Did you not see that part of the video? You can't speak on how you know Gabby wants to respond because are not her, but what you could have spoken on was the receipts confirming your sis did commit a crime against the same community that if a cis saltine Republican would have did these same things, we would have gotten 10-minute long graphic-filled videos produced in Mexico. My God, Mexico, with you reading at 200 words per second. If guilty by association was a person, you think she will bounce back, or are using your voice to advocate a space for her to bounce back? We will never forget what she did, and never forget those who claim to be leaders in the trans community stood behind her and be complicit. To think she was supposed to overly communicate with her after she knew she committed a crime and Dom wouldn't respond speaks volumes. Here I was thinking you were the smart one that helped people to fire and called them in. Which is interesting to me, because while we're here, we're going to get back to these comments in her comment section. Let's check out a little bit of what she had to say, because I found this part to be interesting. Of course, this is covered by fair use. You guys run the lights all the way up. Damn, bitch, we've been here for an hour already. It don't even feel like an hour. Y'all run them lights up. I want y'all to hear this part of Mrs. Giselle's commentary. Oh, I done lost the damn part. My God, today. Let me see something. Did I lose the part I was at? I done lost the damn part, y'all. My bad. Jesus. Damn. Let me see if I can find the timestamp. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Okay, I don't even know where it is. Damn. Hold on, let me see. Let me see something. I don't even know where it's at. So let's get back to the comment section, child. Okay, Hope responded to that comment and said, okay. Let me share my screen again. Y'all run the lights all the way up. Okay, another user says, you are also trying to paint the organization as corrupt because it was Black trans women. This narrative is interesting and telling. Okay, she responded, girl, watch the whole story, because that definitely was not what was happening. The user says, well, what happened that can be proven? Did she not falsify bill receipts? Dominique did not anticipate that money being taxable income. That's how she got caught. Can't think of everything. Then that user says, in the same way that they do with mental health agencies and home health agencies with Medicaid fraud, it's not the money she spent, it's that she used fraud to get it. She figured it was no oversight, it was janky, so she was free to do it. That's the effed up part. Is I feel like y'all gaslight us and don't really care because it's preying on Black people. You would never have this mentality if it were saltine trans women or the saltine community. Then that user says, I think y'all stealing. That lady falsified bail receipts. Another user says, you seem to be moving the goalposts with each new topic. Dominique came out publicly and immediately criticized both Gabby and the organization, so it's not surprising that Gabby felt compelled to respond in order to protect her own name and the integrity of the work being done. I've also seen you come online to defend yourself over comments or perceived shade, so I don't think it's unreasonable for someone else to do the very same. What continues to stand out to me is that long before the Okra situation, multiple people within the community had already spoken about the harm they experienced with Dominique. Those voices were often dismissed or ignored, despite what many viewed as a concerning pattern. That's what so many people are reacting to now. What also sends a message is the apparent silence toward both Gabby and the people who previously came forward. From the outside looking in, it doesn't appear that the community has rallied around them or even shown the same level of concern and support that it extends to others. Whether that's the full story or not, that's the perception being created, and perceptions have consequences. I also think people underestimating the long-term impact of this. Imagine being on a debate panel advocating for trans rights, and the first thing your opponent says is, do you really care? Because people within your own community have been raising concerns for years, yet those voices responses were brushed aside. If they weren't taken seriously by their own community, why should we take your message seriously? Whether that's fair or not, it's a line of attack that writes itself. For a marginalized community, credibility and public trust matter. When it appears that responses are influenced by proximity, friendships, or who is well liked rather than by the concerns being raised, people notice. Ignoring previous voices and failing to visibly support those who say they've been harmed doesn't just affect the individuals involved, it risks creating a lasting stain on the broader movement and gives critics an easy way to understand the very causes the community is fighting for. Okay, Hope gave a pretty lengthy response to that. Let's read her response. First, let's be clear about something. At this point, we're not talking about allegations. Dominique accepted responsibility, served 30 days in jail, is currently on probation, and has experienced significant reputational damage as a result of all of this. I want to know what alternate reality and timeline is Hope Giselle living on. What extensive reputational harm has the woman who was just booked and busy down to the Pride blackout facing? The woman who spent her weekend in a 5-star hotel that required passcodes and key cards to even get on elevators in, who was just booked as a celebrity guest within the same community that she pled guilty to financially exploiting. I want to know what part of the MCU is Hope living in. Also, it's interesting that Hope says Dominique accepted responsibility. Accountability and being caught are two different scenarios, my love. Accountability doesn't require being caught. That's the difference. She was caught. She has not accepted accountability. And then getting out and gaslighting and stumping on the head tops of the public for holding her accountable for the disappointment and the shame and embarrassment that we've experienced because a face within our movement has operated within this way after being given a second opportunity to redeem herself, because she came into this whole philanthropy, this whole humanitarian, this whole activism lane as a ex-convict and pissed all over the faces of the community who was willing to forgive and forget, to participate in the restorative justice that the abolitionist community believed in, not holding people to their past and offering immense grace to minority people who oftentimes commit survival crimes, etc. Holding herself accountable would have been her stopping herself before she ran down the rabbit hole with $100,000 of money that did not belong to her, under false pretenses that those coins were going to be allocated to those who were navigating the criminal punishment system. Accountability would have looked like her coming to the public and offering a sincere apology and admitting to dropping the ball and bringing shame to her community and further bringing a stigma to Black trans women who oftentimes are stigmatized, labeled, and judged as fraudsters, thieves, as untrustworthy at large. Accountability would have looked like her responding to Gabrielle and the Okra Project's attempts to settle this matter outside of the law. But guess who wasn't interested in restorative justice? Guess who wasn't interested in being restored? Guess who wasn't interested in paying non-court ordered restitution? Guess who was interested with forwarding those emails directly to spam? What accountability? What accountability has she taken? She can't even get out here and explicitly state that she's wrong. She can't even just sit out here and say, I did it. She has yet to explicitly admit to the crimes alleged against her. What accountability? Accountability looks like her deflecting and causing actual more reputational harm to the nonprofit and to Gworllll. Because let's be really clear, because you know why? And what I really believe, since we get into beliefs, this is the beliefs part of the commentary about why Dominique is really mad as hell at Gworllll and Alana. And this and all of the Easter eggs are there in her commentary and slander. Girls are talking about me from houses I put them in. Ain't put not one girl in any house. If anything, bitch, the Okra Project gave you a housing stipend. How about that? Girls are talking about me whose titties I put on their chest. Come to find out from Mari, that also turns out to be a motherfucking lie. Black and National are responsible for helping Gworllll to fulfill the last remaining balance for her top surgery. But the reason why she's mad, I believe, is because she really did want blind loyalty from Gworllll and Alana. In her twisted, narcissistic, demented, deranged, emotionally abusive ass, scandalous brain, she feels, I put these girls on. I took them off of the streets and took them off of poverty and all of this and all of that, which we came to find out was also not true. I put them on to a 6-figure salary. I elevated their lives. They should have Bonnie and Clyde for me. I don't give a fuck what the subpoenas were, and I don't care what the court ordered. I don't give a damn about no investigations. Dumb bitches should have fought against the investigation against me, even if it would have costed them their livelihood, even if it would have got them into legal trouble, even if. And then for Gworllll to have the nerve to still be employed, baby, while Mrs. Morgan is out here having to figure it all out after failing 3 different organizations with her bullshit. Because let me tell you something. The irony is she never thought that Gworllll was even smart enough. She really looked down on Alana and Gworllll, and that's what I take from her commentary about both of those ladies. She thought they were both stupid, dummies. She's called them unqualified. She's called them promiscuous. She's called them poor, uneducated, and incompetent. And yet the fact that the smartest crayon in the motherfucking box was the one girl who got transferred from the crayon box to the big house. Oh, bitch, that's a massive ego blow to Mrs. Morgan. Now, mind you, Mrs. Morgan is good for admitting that she's also a colorist. She has a particular fetish for light-skinned men, which means that she probably has a fixed inferiority and superiority complex when it comes to light-skinned women. She looks at Gworllll as the bitch who got the best of her, and she hates that because it also triggers up her own inferiority around her own skin tone, because oftentimes she probably has in some way, shape, or form brought into the belief that either light-skinned women or biracial women or racially ambiguous women are superior to her, and maybe even developed some microaggressive behavior toward fair-skinned and light-skinned individuals. So seeing that light-skinned woman be cleared of any criminal liability and conduct while her also feeling like she made those girls and she took them from nothing and gave them everything. And in her mind, they felt her when her going got rough. Baby, if loyalty is having to go down with you in the Titanic, then count me out. Loyalty is not me doing everything the proper way and then you doing everything the improper way. And then when the consequences and repercussions of the improper way that you've been doing things catches up to you, I'm supposed to also partake and mutually participate in the unfortunate repercussions and consequences of what ultimately is your choices. Oh, she wouldn't be smart enough to create a 501c3 and then did. Mrs. Morgan is having an entire ego death. Because she thought she was bigger than the program. She thought she was superior to them girls. And in her mind, she looks at this as they won rather than look at it as I'm at fault, bitch. I'm at fault. This ain't about winners. I'm at fault, bitch. And that's why she spent 2 years, girl, not really fighting for her life, allowing herself to be represented by a public defendant instead of using $27,000 on a closet renovation for a proper, competent legal team. Because, bitch, why would you go out of your way to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for legal representation in a situation that you know, bitch, the Carfax are going to check out on? It just would have been money down the motherfucking drain. When you really think about it, girl, like what person who is in a position to have the sincerity of their work, the sincerity of their legacy, the sincerity of their humanity questioned because they're now being indicted again, would put all of that and put their fate into the hands of a public defendant. Well, if you were wrong, bitch, if you know you was dead ass wrong and you knew the receipts were going to not favor you, baby, yeah. You're going to take the free representation? Why would I blow my fucking coins on a case I know I'm guilty in, bitch? Yep, I'm going to let this play out, girl. I'm going to entertain all the variations of a plea deal, girl, and then take my best option and haul ass. The fuck? The fuck? There was no way for her, girl. Johnny Cochran couldn't have got her ass out of this shit. She ain't bring none of them Substack receipts to the DA. She ain't bring none of them Substack receipts to the motherfucking judge presiding over a case. She ain't bring none of them Substack receipts to the motherfucking lawyer. So why the fuck should they be good enough for us? No, because you think that we're dumb. Girl, you think you can go and Adobe some Carfax, girl, and deflect from the narrative and the attention thereof. And let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that Alana and Gabrielle were. Let's say that they were co-conspirators. Let's say that there was fault, provable, objective fault on their motherfucking hand. That still ain't got shit to do with the motherfucking foot on Miss Morgan's goddamn neck. That just means that there are more necks or foots to be on. But that in no way would alleviate the pressure, bitch, upon her motherfucking neck. It wouldn't change the course of direction, bitch. It wouldn't change the accountability. It wouldn't change the calls for action, even if there was 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13, 20 more motherfuckers involved. Going back to hope, accountability where? Where was the accountability, my love? She goes on to say, so when people continue acting as though accountability has never happened, that's where I start getting confused. It's clear that you are confused. Now, if someone believes the consequences weren't enough, that's a different conversation, but let's not pretend there have been no consequences at all. That's simply not true. The other thing that stands out to me is that some people seem more invested in Dominique public destruction than there are in accountability itself. Because accountability and punishment are not always the same thing. When I watched some of the reactions online, it felt like people were concerned about healing, repair, or even Gabby's well-being, and more like people were excited to finally have a socially acceptable reason to say that they don't like Dominique, and those are two different things. As for my video, I don't know how anyone could walk away thinking I spent an hour defending Dominique when I explicitly said she was wrong multiple times. I also pointed out what I viewed as inconsistencies and unanswered questions on both sides. I didn't crown a winner. I didn't declare Dominique innocent. I didn't declare Gabby a villain, and all of that is deflection because only one bitch's name is signed and sealed on the indictment. Everything around Gabrielle's name, Alana's name is pure hearsay, speculative, and ultimately motherfucking irrelevant because the indictment starred 1 star. But once again, my opinion is that the people in proxy to Dominique need the Alana Gabrielle villainous storyline arc because it keeps them able to position themselves in the middle. Because they worried about consequences and retaliatory clapback from Mrs. Morgan. They're worried about her ego and preserving her ego. They're worried about not wanting to look like they're betraying her. Even though we don't have any objective information about Alana or Gabrielle being criminals, that narrative helps to support Hope's disinterest in being able to have a commentary that exclusively features Dominique. Because even in her commentary, she was saying, yes, Dominique sent me all this information. And well, if y'all not going to present the motherfucking information, if y'all not going to share the screen and give us a play-by-play, baby, on the Morgan files, on the Gabrielle files, it's irrelevant. Nobody gives a damn. Y'all want to take so-called information that's being hand-selected by Morgan herself because she knows who to give that information to and who not to give that information to. I actually feel like she's actually insulting you if she's giving you the information. It means that she thinks you're dumb. And she knows that you feel like you have a duty to ultimately side with her or play neutral at best, which are ultimately two scenarios that Miss Morgan will benefit from. Either you being neutral or you all out siding with her. What I said was there are plot holes, missing context, and private conversations that none of us are privy to. My position has been pretty consistent from the beginning. Dominique was wrong. Accountability matters. The harm people experience matters. Gabby's feelings matter. But what's interesting about Gabby's feelings, right, is that apparently in her commentary, she had some critiques about FQ, Crazy Sexy Cool, and the way that they navigated their conversation with Miss Morgan. But in none of this has Hope showed us how it's to be done. By holding a conversation with Dominique publicly or Gabrielle. So it's interesting that she chooses to stand outside of the club when she's in fact in the club and could easily facilitate a sit down with either one of these parties with ease, given that both parties are readily able and interested in speaking if requested to do so, and yet will not and has not, but have criticisms for those who have. held those conversations while she sits up and speculates and hypothesizes. Okay. And it is also true that none of us know what happened behind every closed door. We don't need to. That's the secondary, irrelevant ass motherfucking information. We don't give a fuck if these girls were really beefing behind closed doors, whether they really liked each other behind closed doors, whether they thought low or high or somewhere in between. It's irrelevant. We're talking about the founding mother embarrassing the hell out of her community, exploiting the fuck out of her community, and then not being held by the very community that has self-appointed leadership in it, that calls out every other public figure, call out every other form of exploitation except the ones that happen directly in one's living room. And y'all want the public to be more interested in an emotional narrative from Dominique that benefits her as she deflects onto Alana and Gabrielle than y'all have an interest in the actual case and the fact that this woman, once again, is still being supported within the community and using the community to pay back the community with. And have no concern about, rather, once again, this woman is and still is a potential danger. That conversation is not important. That conversation is not being had. We got Pink Butterfly here. Okay, let's not misgender Miss Morgan. You cannot like her, but let's not misgender. Okay, that's not necessary. There's a lot of justifiable reasons to not like Miss Morgan. Okay. Somebody here says TS is deleting the Outlaws interview with Dominique is very telling. And we already discussed that. Someone else says that Dominique is just the newest grifter on the scene. Someone else says, I'm still confused on how people aren't holding her accountable enough for what she has literally been proven to have done. Now, this is what's interesting to me. Hope says she went to Rikers. What do y'all want, Death Row? This is pure deflection and manipulation. And you know why? And I'm going to keep saying it. I find it so interesting that now the same abolitionists and abolition adjacent trans activists can now conveniently hide behind she was held accountable by the state, but y'all don't fucking believe in the criminal punishment system, as y'all call it. Y'all don't believe in these corporate, governmental, capitalistic systems punishing and penalizing everyday people, particularly minority people. Abolitionist systems are community-based. So how now do we get to hide behind the state penalized her? That don't count. Y'all abolitionists. If the accountability ain't coming from the community, however the state, however the feds have dealt with Mrs. Morgan's behavior is irrelevant. And what the community is calling for is the community to hold her accountable. Not the state. She just sat up there and bashed the hell out of the criminal punishment system. Her first commentary before Mrs. Morgan, when Mrs. Morgan went in for sentencing, was all about how corrupted the system is. How disproportionate the system punishes and penalizes Black and brown people. And now their penalties, their authorities should count, is legit, is proper. You can't have it both ways. And Hope wouldn't even be getting herself into this tizzy with the public if she just took her personal feelings out of it. Eat the motherfucking meat, spit out the goddamn bone. feel honored by the fact that her community would look to her as a safeguard and a visionary, and as somebody who we're going to give some sense of authority to. And then this is the thanks that we get for putting HR on. Is it our fault that their little friend was gone? Should have sent a thank you note, you little hoe. Now I'm going to wrap your coffin what I want. Shout out to that MAGA supporting bitch. But it's ridiculous. We had town halls and group think pieces about Laverne Cox sleeping with MAGA as if we eat what Laverne's pussy devours. Then there has been an interest in holding Mrs. Morgan accountable and having a really balanced conversation around her and what restorative justice and the proper accountability needs to look like around Mrs. Morgan, who I believe need to sit her ass down and need to be sat down. She should not be able to pay restitution back from the community she stole from by using their money to pay them back with. Absurd and outlandish. The conversation around all skin folk ain't kinfolk can be conveniently leveraged in a situation where one of our own operated in blackface and came in and duped the community, and how much more of that duping is actually happening. And rather than prioritize Mrs. motherfucking Morgan, yes, to the public's feet, prioritizing the plenty of black women, natural born women, black trans women, black trans men, and their community at large who have been allegedly bullied, menaced, terrorized, suppressed, hurt, and injured, thrown away and disposed of by Mrs. Morgan. That would be nice. To actually think about all of the trans men and women who had to sit their ass in motherfucking jail because they didn't have a family to bail them out. They didn't have a community of friends who had it to do it for them. While Mrs. Morgan went and splurged on Mercedes Benz and Uber fucking Eats, corsets, waist trainers, stockings, and baby hair bands. That would be nice to think about the fact that the Okra Project now is suffering and being challenged and being able to raise donations and funding to support initiatives and programs for the very community that Hope Giselle stumps the ground for. If there's anybody who should be pissed off to the highest motherfucking pistivity, if there's any fucking body who should feel fucking embarrassed and shamed, if there's any fucking body who should be outraged, it should be Miss Hope Giselle. She marches in the streets with the very motherfucking people that Mrs. Morgan abandoned and exploited. She has the very tears of those people on her fucking shoulders. That's the community. The people gave her her clout. The people gave Hope Giselle her position. The people did that. Just like the people leveraged Mrs. Morgan and gave her her superpowers, gave her her authority, framed her with a Hollywood star. And if y'all love each other more than y'all love the people, get the fuck away from the people. Get the fuck away from the people. If y'all think y'all bigger than the people when the people are the fucking program. Then get the fuck away from the people. Just stay the fuck away from the people. Y'all can't even wear a professional face long enough as self-appointed HR members of the community. And instead of being egotistical, being arrogant, holding yourself accountable. Like, I oftentimes be wondering who these so-called leaders, who do they have above them to hold them accountable? Because I think a lot of this flimsy HRing happens because there is nothing that they submit themselves to. They don't have anything that they submit their egos to. Mrs. Morgan is banking on this lack of infrastructure and is banking on this lack of integrity, which is why she feels she can play in the community's face. And she's winning that war. The fact that when Hope Giselle was called into question about why the fuck are you centering Dominique, have you centered any type of care and concern around Gabrielle, but you over there running down on all of her receipts? Mrs. Morgan's receipts? Have you extended care and love to Mrs. Gabrielle, who's out here doing the work as well? Proxy has been pedestalized above principle, and that's where corruption gets the best of any community. When proxy is more important. I don't give a fuck about who Bootsy preferences. I don't give a fuck about who Laverne Cox sleeps with. When y'all don't even give a fuck about whether one of our own is sleeping with a bunch of unrestricted, illegal funds that belong to the community that Mrs. Morgan is using as a goddamn pillow at night. A shame to Dominique Morgan for being a trans woman that has had to navigate the criminal punishment system once again in her life. And then had the nerve to be getting out of jail for abandoning the people who have found themselves having to navigate the criminal punishment system too. But unlike her, without any motherfucking help. Who's thinking about all of the queer people who now are not going to have any of the aid afforded to them by the Okra Project because they're having to rebuild and rebrand? While the governing government body is stripping trans people and minority people of their resources every single fucking day. $200 billion just stripped from WIC, from a party that says that they love the children. Apparently, until those children belong to poor people, or those children happen to be queer and trans, the big, beautiful bullshit bill, and then you think we can afford to have our own knocking down the efforts of community-led organizations attempting to act as a middleman between us and a capitalistic exploitive-ass system that prefers to prioritize making money off of us than rendering money to us? Is it really this serious to be chosen? Is being chosen this deep? You can love her hold her accountable, and leave it at that. And tell that bitch that any backlash she's getting is justified, bitch. You put yourself in that position. And we don't have to make you feel better about it. We don't have to make you feel good about it. It's not our job to fluff your ego up. You came into this community pandering to the people, Miss Morgan. You came into this community identifying as a trustworthy public servant. Nobody asked you for your services. You offered them. The people did their part in giving Miss Morgan a second chance, and she's had one hell of a second chance. She's been accoladed, rewarded, trophied, paid, embarrassed, salaried, and given immense visibility as a bitch who came into this shit corrupted. But it was her past. So this is just further examples of how this shit is being mismanaged. How this shit is not being dealt with properly. And it's just better at this point. Girl, let the people handle it. Get the fuck up off the court. And just let the people handle it, because apparently we can't even look to HR, girl. HR don't even want an HR girl. HR girl don't even want to pick up the phone, girl. HR don't even want to process the complaints. HR don't even want to do it. It's a shame and it's a scandal. I hope that Hope really just removes her ego from all of this. I'm not even sure anybody should even want to have a friend who has been this arrogant, who has been this ignorant, who has been this predatory, who has been this exploitive and this harmful. I'm really not even sure what the actual benefit is. Even in the conversation of throwing her ass away, bitch, given all that we've learned, baby, that also would be a perfectly logical action to take. Because we got more reasons, bitch, to throw her away than to hold the fuck on. What exactly is the redeeming quality? To see a bitch in your algorithm, girl, in a 30-second reel with some goofy ass skit? I don't need one more bitch in my algorithm in a bonnet just for the hell of it. I don't need a bitch in my algorithm with one more gap just for the hell of it. But when we think about what really is the community getting, what really is the substance? Public servants are supposed to give more than they receive. Their legacy is supposed to be in what has been contributed to the people in actuality. What are the measurable contributions unto a body of people? I think I've said all I need to say. I got to play catch up on Love Island. This has been great. We're going to continue to read through those HR complaints. I thought I was going to have time tonight, but I got carried away in my commentary. Y'all can thumbs up, share, all the things. Leave your comments in the comment section, honey. Shout out to YB Speaks, please. Subscribe to YB Speaks. Subscribe to Bubs to God, girl. There's only a few little voices, girl. We are relatively small compared to the community at large, who are just sweeping this whole thing under the motherfucking rug, because it's really not about also centering Dominique in this whole thing. But if we can't even do nothing about her, then we also can't even do anything about the systemic issue that she's taking advantage of and exploiting for her own gain. Like, you can't do a quantum leap from A to Z. You got to go chronologically to B, C, D, E, F, G, E, I, E, I, O. Because old McDonald had a farm. E, I, E, I, O. So if we can't even intelligently, integrally deal with a single individual in the proper way and their lunacy, bitch, well, no wonder we're dizzy when it comes to how to attack the larger system. And as I said in the previous fucking commentary, how people do one thing is how they do all things. As a community, we already have a historical pattern and pathology of sweeping shit under the motherfucking rug, not knowing what to do with the difficult part of a scenario. It's easier to go along to get along, or to just, girl, do the Men in Black zap, bitch, and practice that good old thing called denial. We can't afford that, as we can see. We can't afford to walk around with our eyes shut closed. We can't afford blind loyalty anymore. We can't afford systems without no real accountability, without no real reinforcement. What we can see from this Dominique Morgan situation and the way that the community is just moving on is that there's no such thing as community. That's just a word for optics. There's no soul behind that word. There's no blood behind that word. There's no organs within that body. The word community is just a shell company. We get to do some practicing and some trial and error with this situation, because if we don't find some way, bitch, to jump rope into this shit and to get started somewhere within this shit, we never will. And then what happens is the same community that's being preyed on by top tier Joannes. The bitch ain't nothing but the trans version of Donald Trump at this point. Not the little Trump girl, but the big Trump. If we don't find some way, bitch, to jump into this shit, girl, the community is cooked. What Ms. Morgan did, especially if the community is going to largely ignore it, is sent out a bat signal to all other ill-intended, ill-mannered, predatory people and say, girl, over here is where the corn resides, bitch. Come over here and get you a piece. Because even if you fuck around, bitch, and get caught getting you a piece, the community's so dizzy and so dumb, girl, and got the bar set so motherfucking low that they will allow you to use them, girl, to reimburse their own community with, girl. You'll come right on back home, girl, to your fame, your fortune, and to all your things. Because the bar don't exist. Come get you a piece of the community. Come get you a piece. Come get you some. Come get you some, girl. Come get you some. We have millions in unrestricted funds, bitch. Come and exploit the people, girl, off their hopes and their dreams. Come get you a piece of the community. Don't you got some closet renovations you want to do? Don't you need you a Birkin bag? Don't you need some upgrades on your Mercedes-Benz? Don't you need a few purchases, girl, from the Louis store? Come get you a piece. We have millions and millions and millions and millions, girl, and unrestricted funds in the LGBT community. Come get you a piece, girl. There's no infrastructure, no safeguard. There's no accountability, girl. There's no one looking. And by the time they find out, it's too late, bitch. But they so caught up in the parasocial lunacy of it all that you'll be able to piss on a leg, girl, and they'll convince themselves that it's rained instead. Come get you a piece, please. All predators, all scammers, all frauders, come get you a piece of the community. Come get you some. The community need that. They gotta have that, girl. They don't believe in real leadership. They don't need nobody to actually be about that life. They just want the optic, girl. Come get you a big piece, bitch. In this house, Big Mama gets the big piece of chicken. Yeah, girl, it ain't nothing but space and opportunity over here, Gworllll, in the rainbow community. Baby, the bat signal was bright in Gotham tonight. Lost without a coin? Come get you a piece in the LGBT community. Bitch, you lost without a grift? Come get you a piece of the community, girl. You in need of being a celebrity? You in need of an audience? You in need of an algorithm? Come get you a piece, girl. If you're lost out there in the land of the lands of the lands of the lands, come on over here, girl, to the Rainbow Coalition and get you a piece of it. Because losers take none, but winners take all, bitch. All predators, sack chasers, clout chasers, cum guzzlers, coochie sellers, streetwalkers. Come get you a piece. All my sack chasers, drug dealers, murderers, homicidal maniacs, coin traffickers, come get you a piece of the community. Because apparently, girl, the community need that and gotta have that, girl. We need a false prophet. We need a false leader. Come get you a whole piece. Winners take all. I'm out of this motherfucker. I'll see y'all later. Have a good hump day. I gotta get out of her. Bye-bye.